Have you ever wondered what it's like to own your own business? Be your own boss? Welcome to Season 7 of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, where we meet with corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and join us as part of the shareyourstoriesonline series. Hello, I'm Trish Tonak, and today we're going to meet a small business owner, celebrate their great idea, and introduce you to the person behind the logo. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the show. Our guest joins us from Toronto, Ontario. Elizabeth Verwey is a returning guest and the founder of her own business as an author, a speaker, a writer, and producer. She founded a speaker series called Spoken Lives and now has written a book called Brave New Endings, True Stories of Caring for an Ex. Elizabeth is going to share her story on her new book and give us a behind the scenes into the look of the life of business owner. And I'd like to welcome and introduce everyone to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Great to be here, Trish.
You know, I must admit, I am super curious about what was the motivation behind writing your new book, because I know you've been doing interviews and you've been talking to various different people, getting anecdotes from them on their own experience. But what motivated you to write it?
Well, it was a decade after my divorce when I heard that my own ex was going in for emergency surgery, and it was quite serious. And I, without hesitation, said, I want to be part of his care team. And I just was
Wow.
like,
Are you crazy?
where did that come from? I
Yeah.
had no idea. And our child said to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. He said that about you about a week ago. And I said, what are you talking about my health for? My health's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
But you get to a certain age, and sometimes it seems from the people, well, I went forward to interview, it seems to be about a decade after the divorce that things calm down. And when you're facing, a real need or even death, you realize that you don't have to like someone
Right.
to love them.
Right. Wow.
And
That's a profound statement.
uh, it is, it's a truism.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, I wonder how other people feel about this. And I put this survey out and I sent it to friends and contacts around the world, said, put this ask on a Facebook community group. I didn't want to target women or men or, primarily people over 40 were the bulk of the audience, 517 people from 21 countries
Wow.
and primarily women, because primarily women answer
Oh, the caregivers.
surveys
Yeah.
more. Well, no, not so much they're the caregivers, but they answer surveys more than men.
Okay.
I even spent quite a bit of money on LinkedIn and targeting only men, but I couldn't get them. In fact, even when I met with men at parties, they would talk to me about helping an ex. I mean, one fellow, his ex, he learned through Facebook that she was in hospital with breast cancer. He went down there, he brought her stuff every day, made sure all her needs were taken care of as she went through the surgery and the recovery. And as soon as he took her home, set her up, he hasn't talked to her since. He didn't do it out of a sense of commitment. He knew that her family was overseas. He did it from compassion, a place of compassion.
Right.
And her family was overseas. She had a few friends, but not with the capacity that he had. So, but then when I said, may I interview you for my book? He said, No, I don't really need to be interviewed. And I found that I mean, I interviewed 40 women. 40 women agreed to be interviewed, 10 men, and then three adult children of divorced parents with very different
Experiences.
experiences.
Wow.
So it was fascinating. People, we're not talking bedside all the time. We're talking driving them to medical appointments so that your kids don't have to take a day off work.
Right.
We're talking cooking. One lawyer that I met in Spain, she cooked for her ex because she knew the
He
ethnic
liked.
foods that he really liked, and he had not remarried. And so she cooked the food, and the kids took it to him. But that was a big plus for him,
Hmm.
stuck at home with cancer. And, so different things. A lot of people talked about helping with a move or research for the next stage, going into a senior care or something
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I have a very touching story of a fellow who had AIDS, and he contacted, XXXX a long time ago, and they talked to one another, but he went up and stayed out of the city so that his brother, who was caregiving for him, could go and spend time with his partner. And then when he moved into Toronto to go to Casey House for palliative care, um, his ex was there every day. It was on his way home from work, so he would drop in and take whatever he needed. So everybody who I spoke to, everybody of the 50 adults who were divorced that I spoke to said, I never thought that I would do that.
Right.
But then when the need arose, it was the right thing for them
To
personally to
do. Yeah.
do. And sometimes it was to benefit the children,
Sure.
etc.
So,
But yeah,
but tell me how many people, so okay, we interview or you answered the questionnaire was over 500. Can
yeah.
you share how many people of that sort of initial 500 that said no, that they would not? Was it a large portion, a small portion?
It was less than half, but I put that down to you wouldn't answer a survey like this unless you were predisposed, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, among the respondents with children, almost the same number. So women, 55% said yes, and men, 54% said yes, that they would help their ex. The patterns did differ when they didn't have children.
Ah, okay.
Fewer women were willing to help their ex, 44%, and their male counterparts were more willing to help, and they were at 68%.
Wow.
And the highest percentage of people who would wanted to help were same-sex exes.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
up in the 80s, 86%, I think, from memory.
So we've now, how long did it take you to write the book? Because, sending out a survey is one component, and we all know the challenges that there are with that. And then, of course, you went through the interview process and you were
Yeah.
collecting data, and then you actually had to sit and write. So,
Yeah.
how long did the entire process take from the starting of the survey to publishing of the book?
Yeah, I should be able to answer that quicker than I need to. I'd say about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
The survey ran quite a while, but I did interviews as I went
Sure,
along.
sure.
Yeah, I'd say it was about 2 years. And once I got all the interviews done, I went to Panama and rented a little cottage on the beach, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And then when I got back, I worked with an editor and I rewrote and I rewrote and I
Sure,
rewrote.
sure.
And then, included statistics, lots of statistics about divorce and gray divorce, which is a new term for people with gray hair who divorce,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
fastest growing demographic. And I also added a lot of heart healing exercises. So,
Right.
if this is something that you wanted to do to get over an ex, it would really help neutralize the
Some of the
emotion
emotion. Yeah,
around
yeah.
dealing with an ex. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, so you were motivated to see if there was anyone else, I'm sure, that felt like you did and actually helped your ex. And
Yeah.
then I'm sure the research took you down a rabbit hole of saying, wow, like this is really getting interesting. We've got the dynamics of with kids, without kids, we've got same sex, there's a whole demographic there that you've taken into consideration. Now you're at publishing stage. So you're taking it out to the world and you're starting to talk about the book. What are the reaction that you're getting from readers? What are readers having to say? Or people that you say, oh, I've written this book and here's the title. What's their reaction?
Well, it is interesting because people initially say no, that they probably wouldn't help an ex. And then they think about it and they realize if that reality came, they might.
Right.
And at parties, I'm always sort of the center, the hub, and people know people who have cared for their ex typically,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody talks about it. It's sort of, well, I know it's a new post-divorce stage that we need to start talking about,
Okay.
but I've found that how if a couple is getting married, we don't say to them, "Hey, have you done a prenup?"
Yes, exactly.
People don't plan to get divorced. When they get
True.
married, it's like,
Yep.
yay,
We're in this for the long haul.
congratulations.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's also exciting. So nobody talks about, if they're going to get a divorce or protecting themselves with a prenup, for instance. And it's the same with a divorce. Nobody talks about that,
Right.
yet people know people who have, but they're kind of vague on the
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
Every doctor I've talked to can hardly wait to read the book because they find that people always bring their ex in, or often, I should say often, not always. They often bring their ex in when they're facing serious news, and they don't know why, because the doctor it's not a good time to ask
Right.
them
For
why
help.
they chose to bring their ex, right?
Right. Right.
Same with ministers and pastors. They're like chomping at the bit to read the book. And
Right.
after, I'm getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'd really like to talk to these people. I'd really like," and I'm saying, "Well, you probably know somebody in your circle who has done this, so, interview them." I've guaranteed anonymity to
Sure. Sure.
my people I
Participants.
interviewed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's really interesting, Elizabeth, because I think human nature being what it is, as you say, we don't really talk about it's like asking somebody how much money you make, We don't
Yes.
talk about divorce. We don't talk
Yeah.
about how are you feeling. If you don't have a sibling or a parent who's sort of there to give you that moral support while you're going through the process, it's not something we discuss with our friends because
No.
we don't want anybody to know either how awful it is or how embarrassing it may be. And yet it is one of the life stages. Like I know that I'm not sure what the recent statistic is, but I know when I found myself going through a divorce, it was 58%.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
huge. Like when you think about it, that is a
And
huge number of people.
subsequent marriages, I mean, I can't get my fingers on the stats right now, but subsequent marriages, which we both entered, they are even higher.
Really? Wow. Now that's a surprise because
And
you
if
would
your
think,
children and if your children are divorced, or sorry, if your parents are divorced, the children are more apt to divorce. And my
Be
mother
divorced.
was divorced, so it was really interesting for me to read those statistics. But
Yeah,
things are changing in that fewer people are getting married, like remarried or getting married in the first
yes,
place. A lot of
yes.
people, but I don't think it changes a thing, like people in the survey, I asked for them to have been in a, common law, romantic relationship for over a year to, you know,
Participate. Yeah.
yeah, because the paperwork to me isn't as important as entering a
The
relationship that you
commitment.
hope will be, yeah, the
Yeah,
commitment.
yeah, the commitment for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
So we'll just switch gears a little bit because we
Sure.
all know that there's indie publishing and then there's traditional publishing. And you did mention that you worked with an editor who helped you sort of,
Yeah.
get rid of all the clutter and make sure that it was representative of what you wanted to produce. What avenue have you chosen? Are you indie publishing or did you go through a traditional publisher?
So I did really what's called a hybrid model, and I
Okay.
went through Friesen Press,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a distributor called Ingram
Yeah.
Distributing. Because when my first book, The Mentor's Circle, I did independent. So I
Right.
hired, I did U of T Press printed,
Mm-hmm.
I forget how many copies of the book, 1,000 copies, I think. And, I sold those copies. I didn't have a
Sure.
distributor. A bookstore had to buy it from me on
Right.
consignment or buying it. Libraries bought it, that sort of thing. But I didn't want to, well, no longer have a basement. So I didn't want to store books and
Sure.
pay per month to store books.
Yeah.
Having a distributor and having people being able to buy it in all sorts of ways
Formats. Yeah.
helped. And I ordered the books that I wanted, right?
Sure. Sure.
Um, but it was really nice because they have a package that, includes editing and the design, the cover design, and, several other things, marketing workshop and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So have you actually published? Have you already launched and now it is available through the
Yes.
various different, and have you thought, because here's the next thing that I'm hearing a lot of people talking about is audio versions of their book. As podcasts, here we are today. I mean, ours is a video podcast. The video will be up on our YouTube channel, but it will also be in the traditional format of a podcast. And I hear so many people saying, oh, I only do audiobooks now because, I can be doing my chores or I can be, doing computer work and I can be listening to a story. So is that something that you may consider down the road for your publication as well?
Sure, yeah. And I did an audiobook for my business, Ate My Life, a
Mhm,
recovery plan.
mhm,
But it didn't do well. I didn't know how to market it, I'd say is fair.
mhm.
Um, I'm not sure. Like I know that the audiobook is a good idea,
Right.
but when I priced it out, it
It's
was sort
expensive.
of the $5,000
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
And I
It's
thought,
expensive.
yeah, how am I going to market it? So I
Yeah.
have to really get clear on that before I put out
Right.
more money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah,
also a consideration, right? I mean, yes, we have a story to tell. So you had a topic and you had a story that you wanted to tell, and you've been able to accomplish that. But we also have to remember that, it is a business in itself being an author and selling your book. And thank you for mentioning that, the package that you are currently working on provides you with some marketing, because certainly in my experience, most traditional publishers, it's up to you. I mean, they've done their bit with the printing and it may be, print on demand and that
yeah,
sort of thing. But they have so many other authors in their roster that if you're not the one who's out there marketing it, it's just going to sit on the shelf and nothing's really going to happen. So
agreed.
yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that because of the interest in the audio type of books, maybe people like you and I will be able to find innovative ways to be able to do that. That's cost effective, because
Hmm.
it's like anything. Way back when, we both know that there was a time when if you didn't have a literary agent, you didn't publish,
That's right.
right? And
Yeah,
times have
yeah,
changed. So maybe we'll see things change for the audio option as well. Now, do you have a book handy that you can show our viewing
Sure.
audience the cover?
Yes.
Because it's quite a unique cover. Thank you. Thank you. That's really, I love the cover. I love the
Yeah.
trees because that talks about life and so on and so forth. We'll be sure in the show notes to include the link to your
Great.
website so that they can purchase the book. So is there anything that you would say to a would-be author who maybe, I mean, this is definitely an unusual topic that you took.
Yes.
You approached the research part of the book in a different way. You've amalgamated a lot of different disciplines in order to come up with the research material to write. Is there anything that you would share with a would-be author who maybe has a really off-the-wall sort of topic and is thinking, I don't know, maybe nobody would read my book?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, if they are interested in public speaking, that's how I, bring
Right,
awareness to the book.
right,
Social media, of course, is so powerful. If they have an off the wall topic, they can't go the traditional route with a publisher because publishers are essentially lending you money, their money to
right,
write your book. And they want a sure thing. So they want a topic that's been done and done and
right,
done and done.
right, right.
So off the wall topics are always going to be usually going to be the self-published thing. I
Good
had
point.
a agent for about I don't know, 2 months, and then he got an offer to write 3 books in 3 years, which is huge.
Yeah,
So he put all his books on the shelf and said, "I'm just going to write my books. I'll be
right.
lucky to get that done."
Yeah.
So, um, he thought it was saleable, but I was curious how he'd do that, with it
Mm-hmm.
being such a off the wall topic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think social media is very important. Building your social media and being willing to be out there talking.
Right. Now, we certainly wish you all the best with the success of this book because I know that it's launching something that's near and dear to your heart when you're the author of the project. So even though, eyebrows may raise when they hear the topic, we're certainly wishing you a lot of success. Now, one of the things that we do in our guest blog, and you've been a reoccurring guest, and so one of the things that you spoke of before, and I think is probably still relevant, is your 3 words of advice, and they are be brave and grow. So maybe we can wrap up our conversation today with you giving our viewing and listening audience the reason why those 3 words are still as important to you today as they were when you shared them with us originally.
Well, I'm delighted that those are my words because it almost seems like a mantra with my book being Brave New Endings.
Mm-hmm.
Really, yeah, how are you going to grow emotionally? Like I have a dear friend who's 101 and her ex died a year ago and she decided not to go. And I urged her to go, but she decided not to. And now she regrets it. He passed and she
When they're
doesn't
gone, they're
have the
gone.
chance to say goodbye.
Right.
And they did have good years together and they did have children together. One woman in France that I interviewed, she said, I needed to be there in order to grieve with my children and support them through.
That's
Uh,
important.
and I thought, wow, I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that
Mhm.
aspect of it. So I think be brave and grow still resonates with me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Elizabeth, I'd like to thank you for joining me today and giving us some insight into how you sort of have gone through the author experience more than once. You're raising awareness on a topic that's perhaps not for dinner conversation, but we need to start having those conversations. So thank you for bringing that to light.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Trish.
And to you, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for this edition of Keeping It Real. I'd like to send my personal thanks to all of our sponsors and mentors for their ongoing support and ask that you share and invite your friends and colleagues to subscribe to our show, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. found on YouTube and your favorite podcast channel. Elizabeth and I would like to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we meet another business owner and celebrate their great idea.